How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Good morning to everybody waking up from day 2 and the finals of YCS Dortmund. Before we begin, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you are new, and this is Vincenzo O's first place YCS Dortmund decklist. This is kind of amazing. I think this was a very entertaining YCS. I think overall the Shizu format is giving us really cool, skillful, interesting YCSs. So I'm very much up for that. I really enjoyed the coverage from yesterday. And yeah, we obviously see YCS Dortmund taking the first place, but not that easily, right? Fluandrees is standing in the way, but we do see 9 Bistils here, maxing out on everything. Just like a very clean, interesting deck list. 3 Zombie World and 2 Banshee in the side deck. You know, the Flu hate. And this is the Flu Goo. Not much to say here. Necro Valley making an appearance, but I think very good sportsmanship in the final overall. And let's get down to the breakdown. As you can see, top 64, 71% YCS Dortmund. I think this is a tier 0 format, right? This is obviously a tier 0 format. So I got my notes. We're gonna go into each top cut match. I'll go through the first ones kind of quickly, then dive a little bit deeper into the highlights of the top 4 and finals matches. And yeah, let's begin. We have in top 64 feature match, we have Diego versus Hakan, Fluandrees versus YCS Dortmund. I think the first cool thing I wanted to show here was summoning the Barrier statue first to play around the Havness. So now basically they have to normal summon not from the map effect, just like their regular normal summon for the turn, but they're already protected from Havness because their opponent can't summon it anymore. So that's like really cool to see that experienced player, even though it's Fluandrees. I don't especially like the deck, but I think after watching some interviews and some deck profile videos, kind of gained a little bit more respect towards them. What we have here is 2 Orange Light. So Diego summons the Robina and tries to summon the Eaglan. The Eaglan gets negated by the Orange Light, and the Stree gets negated by the Orange Light, and he does eventually is left with 1 card in hand, which is the Planet. The Planet actually gets Judgment, yeah, half his life points, and this is 1-1. This is game 3 already, paying 4,000 life points for the Planet. But unfortunately for Diego, he has another Planet. He extends the hand, and yeah, that's all she wrote for the Fluandrees player in the top 64 match. We go into the top 32. We have Etienne versus Alexander. We have YCS Dortmund versus Medolce. And one cool thing that we're seeing here, we're already seeing Etienne up 1, and we are seeing Alexander, the Medolce player, bricking, setting 2, and passing. Etienne activates the Sheeran effect, and we finally see the Silent Graveyard in a feature match. So the Silent Graveyard does put in some work here, but unfortunately, I think Medolce making the top cut is amazing on its own. Very good read out of whichever players decided to play that, but I think eventually coming up a little bit short and not really, you know, pulling through and standing up against YCS Dortmund. Top 16. This was, I think, one of the more interesting matches. We have Samir and Gabriel. Gabriel Susi, of course, a very well-known player, and we also have Samir, also a decorated player here, with a very skill-intensive mirror match. These are the ones they talk about when they're talking about the skill-intensive mirror matches. This is definitely 2 very experienced players, and we see a first appearance of Wallow here, the new YCS 6 that actually gains attack for all your monsters based on the cards in the graveyard, and also can actually summon a monster or shuffle back a monster from your opponent's graveyard as a quick effect. So very cool, and not the last time we actually see that. Gets up to a lot of attack points for your field, because you know, Dortmund's mill like 20 first turn, so it gains 2000 attack for all your monsters, and yeah, that's pretty interesting. We also see this game of Top Cut going to time. We see the Gaga Cowboy coming down to the field, inflicting life points to Samir in time with literally 1 second on the clock. This goes to time. So what happens when a Top Cut match goes to time? It goes to game 3, no siding, and a die roll. Each player gets 2 turns, and after 2 turns, or 4 turns overall, the match is concluded based on life points. So this is what happens here. And Samir actually takes it pretty convincingly. Not dealing enough damage on the board here, but going into Branded and High Spirits in the battle phase, which is definitely kind of nuts. Doesn't have any targets. I'm not really sure what happens here, but I think Susie concedes after this. He knows he has enough damage. The awkward handshake comes in. And yeah, Samir takes it. Susie, very well-known player, gets eliminated in the Top Cut. Then we see Mario versus Etienne. Flandries versus Ishizu Tearlaments. And we see the power. I think this was the match where Unexplored wins, which is an unbelievable card. If you don't know what this is the card. You can, when you tribute summon a monster, you can tribute 1 card your opponent controls instead of one of your monsters. So it's not an activated effect. It's just like a game mechanic. You can do it over floodgates. You can do it over monsters. And this is what it does here. Basically, Etienne, I think, not a great showing from him during this match. Could have gone for a Zeus line that would probably win the game. You can already see the Necro Valley on the field, but goes for a Baguska in the extra monster zone to play around Cerberus, and the Unexploded Wind distributes over it, and that's basically about it. Then we see Unexplored Winds come down again, so Etienne is left only with There Can Be Only One, which means that Mario can't summon any more Winged Beast monsters. However, you can tribute set monsters of the same type under There Can Be Only One, and Unexplored Winds can tribute There Can Be Only One for that. So, he just says, okay, set M-Pen, tribute your Floodgate, and here we go. He does manage to get to another one, but gets hit with the Mystic Mine, and one of the funniest things, I mean, not funniest, that was kind of sad actually, he shuffles back all of his back row removal from the graveyard in order to be able to play against the Unexplored Winds and the Mystic Mine. He shuffles them back. He has like 7 cards in the deck and never sees them. Ends up losing the match to Mario. This top 4 match, for some reason on the Yu-Gi-Oh! EU channel, is not fully uploaded yet. Seems like there's quality issues there. So excuse the quality. This was one of the big ones. Joshua Schmidt, reigning YCS champion, versus Vincenzo, who doesn't have a YCS title. Also a pretty known player, but doesn't have a YCS title yet. But honestly, as much as I love Josh, outplays Josh and ends up taking this top 4 match. So the first interesting thing we see here is Vincenzo activating Kelbeck, which he opened nuts, by the way. Josh won the die roll and had to play against 3 interruptions. It was, I believe it was Havness, Kelbeck, and Druisworm, which is nuts. 3 interruptions in the hand, it's crazy. But interesting thing here, he tries to Kelbeck the Sheeran in order to prevent Josh from going to Abyss Dweller, which is very interesting here. Then we have Vincenzo, just like now, when you summon the Kelbeck and bounce the Sheeran, you already have a body on board. So all you have to do is normal summon once, yeah, make Dweller, activate, play freely in the mirror. But unfortunately, he does go for the Dweller, which is good, but ends up forgetting that Scream actually reduces attack points. He mills for Scream, so it mills 3, then decreases the attack points of all monsters your opponent control by 500 until the end of the turn, something like that. So Dweller has 17, Sprint has 14, but it gets decreased. So he tries actually attacking the sprint, and Josh is like, yep, sure. Gets destroyed by Scream. I don't think it mattered that much, but and he does also end up taking game 1. But this was, you know, those small misplays that happen in a top cut feature match, at top 4 especially. So the Dweller crashes, Josh scoops it up. We see Wallow coming back here again with a lot of attack points right now, just going in for a lot of damage. Josh doesn't really have anything going. Dweller is established as well. Scoops it up too late, I think, in my opinion, and ended up going into time, which means that he could have scooped it a little bit earlier. We see Vince. This is game 3. Vince goes first. Josh takes game 2. Vince starts at game 3. Rhino, Sheeran, Mills 3 hits Keldo and Medora, 2 shufflers, which is very, very strong. But unfortunately, Vince just outplays here. To be honest, just outplays. The talents coming in clutch in game number 3 here, really, really showing the power of this card, why this card needs to be in your deck or side deck at least. Yeah, just draws 2 cards here. Very, very strong. And I think this is the play of the game here for sure. And a very contentious point in the game. We see a Zeus line forcing out the Rulkalos and the Kaleido Heart effects from Josh. And yeah, he waits for the effects, talents to draw 2, and he had 1 card in hand when 2 cards in hand when activating the talents. Draws 2, draws a planet and a Merly, which is absolutely nuts. And now all you have to do, you know, he's up 900 life points. 2 minutes on the clock, main phase 2, you just play. You know, you drew the Merly, the planet. You can play. And he plays actually until 3 seconds remain on the clock. And this is where it comes down. Okay, so 1 second on the clock. Josh draws a card off his deck. Vince actually passes turn here. Josh says battle phase. He wants to go straight to battle phase. The T is thrown on the table. And unfortunately, the judge doesn't accept that. Josh doesn't take it too well. I understand. Emotions. Top cut feature match. Top 4. But as much as I love Josh and wanted to see him win, I think that no matter how this goes, with the shufflers in the graveyard, with the Merly, with the Sulliak on the field, Josh never gets to the battle phase. Even if there's 2 minutes on the clock, he doesn't get to the battle phase. So unfortunate, but a very solid win out of Vince. Very entertaining top 4. Wait, 95% of you are not subscribed? Come on, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe if you are new for more awesome content. If you want 5% off any single or sealed product and want to support me and the channel, head over to tier0games.com and use code GALZO5 at checkout. Then we go into the finals and we see, you know, Shizu players going up against Flanderies. Mill aggressively. Don't even mind anything, like just mill their deck. Mill their deck as much as possible. You go for the mill 10 every turn. So we see the Nacro Valley on the field and we see very cool interactions. Why Planet is such an amazing card in the Shizu strategy. Shuffles back cards with the Mudora. Pops with the field spell. This is why this card is $80, you guys. But yeah, Mario has to go up into a stacked field. Dragostapelia Sulliak also had a crime. Scoops it up game 1. And we see... So what we see here... My voice cracked a little bit. What we see here is actually Mario starting this game after losing. Goes for the first shifter. Shuffles it back with the Ryza. Then passes it on to Vince. Vince sets 1 and pass. And I suppose he wanted to gain some card advantage, Vince, because the second shifter gets hit with the orange light. Yeah. At that point, pretty much you kind of know what you're up against, and you can just play basically. We also see from the deck list in the beginning, we see the Necroworld Banshee here forcing out the Apex Avian negate, which I think was amazing. And we're also seeing Zombie World, so just like very, very strong Flunderies hate in Vincenzo's deck, because as he said in his deck profile, we win the mirror matches. We have our second cards. Our deck is built for going first, and all we need is 5 cards for Flunderies. Honestly, the orange light were also Flunderies cards against Flunderies, so that's it's very good out of him. And yeah, we actually see Mario going for the Zeus line here, which is not very common. We saw in his deck profile, he's playing 3 Zeus in the extra deck, which is nuts. He goes for the Zeus, forces the effects, but at the end of the day, isn't left with any cards on the field to protect him. So a very nice, very good sportsmanship displayed on the feature match, and we see Vincenzo take YCS Dortmund. Yeah, I think this has been a really, really cool showing of this format, what these decks can actually do, and I really enjoyed covering this for you guys. Leave a comment below what you thought about this weekend. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new. As always, I'll greatly appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.